It's 32 days to election 2020. Hello and welcome to Election Brief. I am your host, Araba Kumsin. Coming up in this edition, National Security Minister Albert Kandapar reveals the country's national security architecture has undergone significant reforms as he describes 2020 as an extraordinary year for election security because of acts like secessionist attacks.
The assertion that the occurrence of some of these regrettable incidents amount to incompetence or intelligence failure.
More as he briefs Parliament on the country's preparedness for the December polls. We will also bring you details as the Electoral Commission chairperson prepares to brief Parliament as well. Also, police point to violence recorded during this year's voter registration exercise in some constituencies as one of the leading causes for an increase in electoral hotspots. 4,000 flashpoints in October to over 6,000 in November. We'll hear from the IGP on what is accounting for the rise in the hotspots. Also in this edition, division in the Fomina constituency as residents are torn between backing the MP running as an independent candidate and the MPP candidate for the area.
It's about your purpose. So we want him to do more so that we can also have more development here. We have a lot of youth here. We want some.
We voted for lawyer Andrew Samakwesiama last 4 years, and yet still he's not delivering what we expected from him.
Lawyer Andrew Esiama.
Have more as the MPP makes efforts to win that seat at all costs. And later in the program, supporters of President Donald Trump resort to prayers as they seek the face of God for victory in the just-ended polls. Meanwhile, in some states, protests break out as votes are counted. We will get a live update. Election Brief is brought to you by Petrosol. Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity, smart lubricants, quick to move, thick to protect. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. Now, National Security Minister Albert Kandapar has revealed the country's national security architecture has undergone significant reforms as he describes 2020 as an extraordinary year for election security because of acts like secessionist attacks. As you know, government came under criticism some months ago for failing to foil the actions of secessionists in the Volta region, which some say raised tensions in the country ahead of the polls. Addressing MPs in Parliament earlier on Thursday on the country's preparedness for the upcoming elections, Mr. Kandapar said there is a deliberate attempt to create a false notion of insecurity when evidence shows the contrary. This, he says, is due to politicization.
Mr. Speaker, the recent unfortunate incidents of some high-profile killings, among others, also created serious concern among Ghanaians. Thankfully, the Ghana Police Service, in all the cases, have made significant breakthroughs and have arrested suspects connected to these crimes. Again, Mr. Speaker, chieftaincy disputes continue to pose serious challenges to the security of the country. Disagreements in Funzi, in Monegu, Somi, Boli, and Teshi are but a few of the delicate chieftaincy disputes that have been recorded in recent past. But again, Mr. Speaker, thanks to the proactive district, municipal, and regional security councils who work, includes collaboration, Ministry of Chieftaincy Affairs, and the National Regional House of Chiefs, majority of these disputes, Mr. Speaker, are receiving serious attention for resolution. Mr. Speaker, these recent security developments have engendered heated public debates about the effectiveness of Ghana's intelligence architecture in preempting impending dangers. For instance, some Ghanaians have wondered why the events of 25th September with respect to the Western Togoland affair occurred in the first place. While these concerns may be valid, Mr. Speaker, I humbly disagree with the assertion that the occurrence of some of these regrettable incidents amount to incompetence or intelligence failure.
Now, parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us on the line for more on happenings in Parliament. First of all, Gakpo, the National Security Minister was emphatic that there's a deliberate attempt to create a false notion of insecurity when the evidence does not show same. Why has he been saying this?
He insists that as a result of efforts to politicize the nation's security for political advantage, some political actors have been creating an impression to give the sense that the nation is insecure. But he goes on to make the point that when you look at the crime statistics and the figures and how there's been various security activities, that's not exactly the case. He, for example, referenced the situation that happened with the activities of the suspectionists in the Volta region. Right. And he went on to say that there's been claims that there was intelligence failure which actually led to that. He says that's not the case. He has the adequate intelligence that this is actually something that was happening, and that's how come they're able to bring it under control as quickly as they did.
All right, many thanks, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo there. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back after this. You're welcome back to Election Brief, and Election Brief is brought to you by Petrosol. Now, last month, the Ghana Police Service identified areas where violence is likely to erupt during the presidential and parliamentary polls. A total of 4,098 flashpoints were identified, with the Ashanti region leading with the most constituencies prone to violence. At a media briefing on November 4, the Inspector General of Police, James Opombuenu, announced that what he says gives rise for the police to update the electoral flashpoints. Before we hear from the IGP, I have head of our security desk, Gifty Ando-Apia, who is joining me in the studio. Gifty, hi, good to see you again, as always. So let's go through the areas, the flashpoints. First of all, before you go through the areas, this is an addition to what we were told earlier, right? Okay.
So the explanation I'm getting from the police service is that this is a figure that they're constantly reviewing based on what information they pick up from the ground. Right. They tell us that they have regional representatives who are supposed to feed the police, the national headquarters, with this information. So as and when they have that information, they put it out there. What we ought to know also is that the previous work that was put out, which was the 4,098, was something they did together with the Arms Commission. And so you can have perhaps some changes in that detail, depending as well on the work that was done at the time and the work that has been done right now. So right now, what we're working with is 6,178 as announced by the IGP, and we're told that it will be reviewed as they go along. So if we're to go through the details, Araba, it's quite a lot of information. I will try and put some on the screen, some of the information that the police has provided us, we'll put them on the screen. But you rightly said, rightly said, you have 3 regions, I think 4, that are tops. Ashanti region is number 1, Central region comes next, Northern region comes next, and then there's Greater Accra region. There's an interesting bit about the Northern region because we're broken down that particular region. We have 2 different regions out of that. So essentially you have 3 regions in the Northern region alone. Let me start with the Ashanti region. We have 47 based on the 4,000, the previous 4,000. Okay, let me address this particular one. These are the latest figures. Okay. So this is a breakdown of the 6,178 that we have. So when you look at it, take Accra.
Accra has 500 alone,
and you'll find this interesting because Accra on the previous list had 264. Accra in the previous
list. That's a huge jump from 264 to 500.
The difference there is 236.
Wow.
236. So this is Accra, 500 now, but the previous figure was 264.
And this isn't within a space of how many months?
It's possible that they had done the work previously, but had not been updated before that press conference that gave us the 4,000 figure. It is possible. So it's possible. We need to get the police to give us the specific period in which they did it, but it's possible the work had been done, it just had not been updated at the time. Now you look at Tema. I don't have the other details for Tema, but Tema, we're looking at 189. The central region has 906. Now let me go back to the previous list that we had. Central region had 906. The previous figure was 537. 537. So we have a difference of 369. That is for the central region. If you look at eastern region, we're looking at 891. Water region 275. Oti 261. Western 323. The western north 292. Ashanti region, which is topping the chart, is at 975. And so if we look at Ashanti region's 975, the previous figure was 635. So there's a difference of 340 additional hotspots. Okay, now we look at Bono, 179. Bono is 118. Ahafo 50. Savannah 129. Northern region 393, which is part of those at the top. 399. The previous figure was 287. So the difference there is 106 additional hotspots. Upper East 345, Upper West 292, Northeast 60. So Abba, we focused our attention on the top say, I think the top four. So we have Ashanti, Central region, Northern region, and Greater Accra region, which is where I have the differences in the figures. Now, I don't know if we have some more time, so I can take you through the districts. If you take the Ashanti region, we have 47 districts. That's what gave us the previous, and this is the previous figure. The previous figure. That's where we had details of. So Ashanti region, 47 districts. Central region, 23 districts. Northern region, 18 districts. Greater Accra region, 34 districts. And they all have the figures breakdown. I don't want to bore our viewers with all these specifics. But you can go on My Joy Online. We have the details published there. And that detail is, that includes the details of the previous 4,000 figure. We're yet to have the full details of the 6,000 figure. Now, Arba, if you look at these particular regions, and you want to take the top 3 districts that are considered, I don't want to say most violent, but that are considered the hotspots. Exactly. You're looking at Ashanti region alone, Offenso North. Offenso North is key. Asawase. Exactly.
That's a well-known hotspot.
Exactly. So we have Offenso. I'm just addressing the top 3 of the top 4 districts. So the first Ashanti, you have 3 districts: Offenso North, Asawase, and Efiduase Asokore. Those are the top 3. If you come to the central region, the top 3, Ewutu Senya East. Then you have
Mavis Howard constituency.
Then and in just Ewutu Senya, so mind you, these are the districts. Okay, so it's a bigger area. So if you take Ewutu Senya East, for example, there were 72 constituencies identified as hotspots. It's a lot of figures, I must say.
It is.
But it gives, just to give you an idea of the magnitude of the violence-prone areas we are dealing with. Then if you take Gomwa West, we have 61. Then Heman Lower Denchra. So these are the top 3 for central region.
So Ewutu Senya East,
Gomwa West, Heman Lower Denchra, the top 3
for the central region.
Exactly. Now let's look at the northern region. You have Yendi, and of course we heard a lot about Yendi during the during the parliamentary primaries as well. 55 there. Tamale Central, 50, and then Gushewu. That's 40. And if you take northern region, I was talking about the dynamics there. The northern region, if you want to look at it as a whole, assuming we didn't have different regions, you want to add Savannah, you want to add Northeast, so the figures could go up. Just because there are different regions now, you could say that the figures are a bit lower, which is what how you can explain how the northern region, comes beneath, for example, Ashanti region. Ashanti region
so it could have been higher had it not been demarcated.
Based on, I mean, that's just a little bit of analysis there. Let's finally end with Accra, Ayawaso Central. And of course, this is their district. Okay, so I'm sure Ayawaso, and I've not done that bit of the study to find out whether Ayawaso West Wuogon is within Ayawaso Central. But if you take the district, Ayawaso Central has 50 hotspots as of the previous 4,000.
No surprise there.
Odododio comes
No
second.
surprise there at all.
I know. But then even if you look at Odododio, it has 50 as well. So it's not even in any, they're on the same level.
Scale, yes.
And then Ablekuma West, 30.
Right.
Ablekuma West, I think that's the communication minister's area.
Eslo's area.
Exactly. And we know what has happened there previously as well, what's been happening there as well. So these are, you know, to give you an idea of the magnitude of potential to violence, electoral violence.
I'm sure a lot of people are concerned about, you know, the increasing numbers of hotspots that the police are identifying. What accounts for the increase, though? Did the police say?
So yesterday we had the IGP respond to this, but it wasn't as detailed. The IGP pinched it on the police's own criteria, which he says is based on the, if you like, what the police is describing as volatility of crime or the crime rate in the area. But what we can put together, I mean, if we can do some very informed analysis. You can look at the history of electoral violence in the particular area, how those particular violence have been dealt with or handled by security agencies. Right. So then the way they deal with it give people the ability or the impression that they can act with impunity.
So they're emboldens them.
They're emboldened, exactly. Yeah. So that's one group of the people. The other group,
I mean, what comes to mind, obviously, is the Ewutu East area, where Mavis Howard Kumson, you know, was indicted for, you know...
Well, she herself admitted to firing
warning shots. We haven't had... Of course, the police says it's investigating. People were arrested, but I'm sure that they have been released. Well, I'm not sure whether they're still in custody.
We were told yesterday that some people have been put before court. Again, there's always the issue about the detail, because the devil is always in the detail. Exactly. And that's something that we push for from the police. So just to finish up the point I'm making so it doesn't get mixed up. So you're looking at the history of electoral violence in that particular area. You're looking at how the cases have been handled, which then feeds impunity or the feeling of threat. So people feel we're under threat, so we need to defend ourselves. So you have two groups, those who feel that they can act with impunity and those who feel that we have to defend ourselves because we are threatened. Right. And then you can look at the strength of the parties, the political parties in the particular area. So if you take Ashanti region, for example, you could say it's a stronghold for the governing NPP. Right. But it's also a place where the big opposition party is looking to make political gains. Right. So you have some frictions going on there. Okay. If you take a place like the Volta region, which is the opposition stronghold, and you see a governing NPP that wants to make inroads, political inroads there, you can have that friction coming up as well. And then you can look at the strength of the security services in that particular area. Right. I mean, these are informed analysis that we can make from what has happened in the past. But here is the IGP's you know, explanation of the criteria upon which they decide on which place is a hotspot. Right.
You can listen to him.
We have identified 6,178 flash points nationwide. The flash points were decided based on a number of factors, such as incidents recorded in previous elections, this year's voters registration exercise, and crime rates and other factors relating to those centers. As a result, our approach in these areas will be slightly different from other areas. Saturated patrols and standby forces may be visible to prevent any mishap. Hotspots and strategies for handling them will be reviewed based on emerging trends. You know, these hotspots were not just coined here in the police headquarters. We did that. Remember that we have regional and district security task forces. So those hotspots have been selected in connection or in collaboration with these task forces. So, for instance, if the Accra region is dealing with a polling station, let's say the regional headquarters, definitely they know that there will be traffic there. It's different from where the polling station is in my village, Abu Abu, where maybe, the total population of vehicles will not be 10. So definitely, all those factors will be taken into account before the deployment is done. So definitely, yes, traffic will be taken into account.
All right, so that's the IGP there speaking to the issue of hotspots and the additional hotspots that they've identified. But Gifty, the issue of ammunition seized at the Tema port a while ago also came up. What has the IGP been saying? Have they established the identity of the person who imported it into the country? Okay, so first of all, this press conference was supposed to address us on security plans for the election. Right. So we got the chance to ask the further questions. And when we did that, the IGP called in the CID, the Director General of the CID, who is handling the case, to give us the details. They didn't give us details as to who is behind it or who are the people they've arrested. But they told us that out of the 6 people they arrested, they're only holding on to one person. Right. What it then means from any security perspective is that they could not find enough evidence for to pin the 5 others to this particular crime. Right. But of course, they haven't given us any detail. They're also telling us that's the guns or the arms that they had seized. Turns out to be a different thing. They're telling us it's something called gas guns. Gas guns? Gas guns. What are gas guns? I know it. We'll have to look up what it is. But then I couldn't also engage him because, like I said, it was a bigger press conference and we were addressing other issues. But he spoke briefly to that. He did. We can listen to him.
The 436 pistols that were intercepted at Tema Port, investigation is ongoing. Initially, 6 persons were arrested, but as at now, we are holding on to 1 person. We have examined the weapons, and they are gas pistols. Gas pistols.
Well, so that's head of the police CID there. Thank you so much, Gifty, for that update. And we'll be delving more into this on Pulse, which comes up at 3 p.m. Be sure to stay tuned in. Away from that, residents in the Fomena constituency are sharply divided over the MP, Andrew Amoako-Esiama, running as an independent candidate in this year's election. MP for Fomena, Andrew Amoako-Esiama, has filed with the Electoral Commission as an independent candidate after losing his MPP primaries against admonition by President Akufo-Addo and other top members of the New Patriotic Party. The NPP has since expelled him from the party and are asking Parliament to declare his seat vacant, although no action has been taken yet by the leadership of Parliament in relation to that particular request. Here are some residents of the Fomena constituency speaking to JoyNews.
Believe that what lawyer has done, he can do more with or without the NPP. It's about your mindset. It's about your purpose. So we want him to do more so that we can also have more development here. We have a lot of youth here. We want somebody who can inspire us, and that is what lawyer is doing.
My area, I can't tell of what lawyer Esiama has done in my own town. If you take Fomena constituency, that's the biggest town in Fomena constituency. But not a pin that lawyer has provided for the town. So I can't tell about the development that he's boasting of.
For now, all my intentions is to vote for Christina Amaransen Barapu, the woman. Why? Because if you compare her to even the incumbent parliamentary candidate, the member of parliament right now, who is representing the constituency, I think she's already doing a lot. She has an organization called Crystal Foundation. And what this organization does is it grooms young people. Like if you intend to learn a trade, a skill, this woman picks you up and then puts you through it for free.
We voted for lawyer Andrew Amoako-Esiama last 4 years, and yet still he's not delivering what we expected from him. And now he said he's an independent candidate. Because we cannot follow him. We follow him because he was an MPP man. Now he's not more in the party, so we can't follow him.
Me a former NDC branch chairman, and I make a say. And when I mean, who put to Juma, I'm saying no. Jenny Bobo in Chidom, so we are NDC, so we are MPP. And year 2020 there, so we are NDC no, so we are MPP no. Yenaya Kwama, lawyer Andrew Esiama.
When you go to school, and you don't have after completing the school, and you don't have the requisite job, but if you have the skills that you have been trained of, it's easy for you to engage in your small business, of which it can earn you something day in and day out. And this is what Ama is doing.
Well, President Akufo-Addo also says he feels disrespected by the decision of the MP, Andrew Zamwa-Kwesi-Ama, to run as an independent candidate in the Fomena constituency. Now, the MPP is divided in between the incumbent MP running as an independent and Philip Ofori-Asante, who's running on the ticket of the MPP. Here's President Akufo-Addo speaking at a deba in Fomena earlier.
So one who say independent candidate, no, M1 Fomena, M1 Dansemai, because the Banesa, not just say, Massive Bedroom Hono, Munyo Bia, or near Banabit, Casa Mamua, and Dinfaso, Abenya. So, no, Openia say me, mentioned Antias, and Mete said, why not say Bia or Beko independent candidate? Long before, about 3 months, me said that friend. I mean, to say, Mattis has said me, say, oh, per se, oh, independent. I mean, so independent, no, M1 me. So I need to crown out independent candidate for parliament. It's completely dominated by party candidates, and they are now between me and you. So from so be a na san from so ntina bufu aba wo afa o person ko jina independent Mr. Yan from before no any from so into nchai yan to aba na wie na bia sese ye e manti ase ye adwuma e ma wo so unya wa hoto no mini president to me sana wo ntino wo da hwe me so dia sese me ye ataboafo Yoko ya tabwa for Akobi. Tabwa for no any ambassador of Congo. You know, playing can win that. I will free me honor. And visit Bia, what him say. Say on Timase, to walk.
Meanwhile, the MP is standing by his decision to contest as an independent, saying that in spite of the party expelling him, he intends to win the seat for them.
Oh, everything is okay. The campaign is going well. Everything is over.
Everything is over. Yes. There's a lot of appeals to you. We told the president, Canada, Japan, others are intervening, asking you to step down.
Well, I think it's belated. The notice of pull has come. My name is there. I'm part of them. If they have sacked me, I'm still part of them. So don't worry. I'm winning for them. I'm winning for the party. Don't worry.
In fact, they say they've dismissed you from the party by virtue of the fact
they have dismissed me, but I'm still in. I'm winning for the party.
How can you continue belonging to a group which says we've made you an outside
member? They are saying they have dismissed me, but I am telling you I'm winning for the party. You see, you people, you media men, I've had a lot of discussion about this particular issue. Please, let me have a bit of my peace. Let me say one thing. Let me say one thing. What I can assure you is that I will be part of the 8th Parliament. That is what is important.
They've asked that from the 7th Parliament, you'll be taken out by virtue of the fact that the MPP...
Today you see me. Yes, you see me. I'm in Parliament. I'm just walking out from the chamber. I'm part of.
But what do you make of the demand they're asking that the Speaker gets you out of the 7th Parliament?
Please. What I'm saying, I've had a lot of discussion on this particular issue. I don't want to jump into that angle. I am still part of Parliament.
Do you think they have a legal basis?
I'm not going to discuss that thing because no letter or documentation has been given to me to that effect. So I don't need to discuss anything, probably speculatively. So once we didn't get there, we need to.
So as far as you are concerned, you are staying in the 7th Parliament, so it expires on the 6th of January.
Of course, I'm just in the chamber, so I don't need to even discuss this issue.
How are things looking like on the ground? Does it look like you are getting a lot of support? Because then the claim is that the party supported you, which is how come you won the seats on the different occasions.
So if the party supported me, fine. This time around, the entire constituents are supporting me. So I'm coming back to Parliament. Just watch my lips. I will be part of the 8th Parliament.
So that's the MP for Fomena, Andrew Zamwa-Kwesi, and you can get a lot more of that on The Battleground, which airs on Joy 99.7 FM at 8 p.m. Let's head to the Ashanti region because President Akufo-Addo is continuing his 4-day tour of the region. Nanaya Aljima is following the president. He joins us with more. Nanaya, where has the president's tour taken him today?
So the first port of call for the president today was the Swansea area, the Achuma Palma, where he went to Swansea specifically to meet the people there. And when he met them, the chief of Swansea, who stood in for the people, told the president that his bid for the next for his next term will be dependent on the roads in the area. So the votes that the people will give him will be dependent on the NPP's ability to fix or work on the roads in the area. And so far, according to the NPP, they've awarded the roads on contract, but the chief says the contractors are delaying work on the roads, so he wants the president to facilitate efforts to make sure that these roads are fixed. And the president also assured them that they will work very hard to ensure that their desire comes true. And also, the president from there moved to the Buankra area in the Ejuso municipality, specifically the Buankra Inland Port, where he cast sword for commencement of the project. If I can give a brief history of this project, it started under the Kufuor administration, but when the term of the NPP was truncated, the project couldn't continue. So it was in the NPP's manifesto to restart the project, and exactly that's what the NPP has been able to do today. So together with a company from Japan, government will be spending from Korea an amount of $330 million will be spent on the project. So the president just completed the sword cutting, and he'll be moving to the project in the Ashanti region. That is the affordable housing project, which NED took over in 2017 when under President Akufo-Addo gave that project, which was started under the Kufuor administration, to the NED company to continue the project. So the project is now done, and today the president will also cut tape for the use of that project.
All right, many thanks for that update. That's Nanaya Aljima on the ground with the president. This is your election headquarters. You're welcome back to Election Brief with me, Araba Kumsa. Now, the Progressive People's Party is calling for the resignation of Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta for his involvement in what it describes as stinking deals like the Ejapa royalties deal and the PDS controversy. Speaking at an event here in Accra, running mate of the party, Kofi Asamoah urged President Akufo-Addo not to be compromised by family ties, but have the willpower to revoke the appointment of the minister if he fails to resign.
The finance minister must resign. We are extremely worried that despite the damning findings made against the finance minister by the office of the special prosecutor, the minister has not shown any regret and respect to the people of Ghana by not resigning from his position. According to the special prosecutor, the agreement submitted to Parliament by the finance minister, quote, surrenders the sovereignty of Ghana over its gold mineral resources in perpetuity, unquote. Essentially what the special prosecutor is saying is that the arrangement in the appointment of the transaction advisor was not approved by the Public Procurement Authority with Data Bank as part of the transaction advisors. And secondly, he's talking about money laundering and illicit financial flows because the Ministry of Finance or the Minister of Finance supervised an agreement with Imari South Africa, but agreed to pay the money, the proceeds, to pay them to Imara, Botswana.
Mr. Asamoah joins us via Zoom now. Mr. Asamoah, your party is calling for the dismissal of the finance minister, but we do know that you have blamed him, not you, but your party has blamed him for the collapse of many of your former flag bearer, Papa Kwesi Ndum's businesses. Are you making this call out of bitterness?
No, first of all, thank you very much for having me. We are in an election year. We are presenting ourselves for election to the high office of president. We are campaigning to the people to look at how past administrations have not been able to fight corruption. And we have put in place practical measures to deal with the issues of corruption. What is at hand borders on governance and good governance and how we approach corruption. So in the management of our country, in the administration of Ghana, if a public official finds himself, as the OSP has confirmed, in not just a conflict of interest position, but he says lack of morality and ethicality in the administration or in public service, it behoves on us to ask the minister to resign. And if the minister doesn't resign, the president must look beyond family ties and get rid of his appointment. So it has nothing to do with any bitterness. There are due processes ongoing in the court as far as those businesses are concerned. So this is purely about good governance, and it's purely about how we improve, how we administer this country, and how we stop corruption all over in this republic.
Now, Mr. Samoa, the president has expressed confidence in the work of the finance minister, even after Mr. Amendu released this report. The finance minister himself has denied the claims being made against him. Do you honestly think, is it practical that this call that you're making will be taken up by the president?
Well, he has to, and that is why somehow was given us the impression that he is complicit in the deal, giving us the impression that he's compromised by family ties, that he can't act. We are going to continue to mount the pressure. What we asked for, a number of things that we asked for at the press conference, was that the Minister of Finance should resign himself, do the honorable thing. If he doesn't resign, the president must kick him out. If the president doesn't kick him out for obvious reason, then we are calling on the people of Ghana to kick out this small clan from Chibi that is attempting to mortgage the entire resources of the republic because they had a privilege to serve the country in 4 years. They are in a hurry to get everything they can get out of it. That cannot happen. So if the president, who is an advocate of good governance, does not take the right step, because many other appointees have committed sins that are lesser than the ones that the finance minister has committed. We lost 190 million of greed and an attempt to share the assets of ECG among family and friends. We lost that money. The Minister of Finance has, as we speak, refused to respond to a constitutional body, an act of parliament establishing PIAC. The minister has spent 1.5 billion cedis of our oil money. He's not able to account for it for the past 2 years. So many bigger, lesser sins have been committed by our.
All right. Many thanks. That's the PPP running mate Kofi Asamoah out there. Let's go back to the campaign trail. And as we told you, the NDC presidential candidate is in the Eastern region. Correspondent Kofi Siao joins us on the line with what Mr. Mahama has been doing. Kofi, bring us up to speed on Mr. Mahama's, what's happening with this campaign right now in the Eastern region.
Okay, so former President Mahama started his campaign in the Eastern region from Ebri, and at Ebri he paid a call on the Ebri Hene Otobo Jankwesi the second, and the Otobo Jankwesi, when speaking, said that what he is calling for is peace. He says the two political giants, the NDC and the NPP, must commit themselves to peace, so that at the end of the elections, during or before, we will have peace throughout the process. And President Mahama, former President Mahama, in his speech also said that he's a very peaceful person because he's learned a lot from late John Evans Atamils, his boss. So he's committed to, the peace of the country. And he said that the government of NDC, when he was in office, did a lot for the people of Ebri. So he expects that they consider all that and vote for the NDC in the 2020 election.
Na yenu anu so aba na asapa o ka chere no paso ka chere mo so na desenya me so mbetie o kasa o kan no na Ghana akoso ayi asomdwe ye de asomdwe fo ya papa o twem no asomdwe hene ene frem me ameje no yese me ahobrase hene ampa nti ye de asomdwe na ye de nam nti na we de enka ne bebre na medawase na machia yenkrofo nyina ene ene ehia ase ne apro no na ene ye de abe ri ahefie ha nti nyame nhyira mu nyina nyame mwa ye ho ban na nyame kan ye ho anoesi.
All right, let's go beyond the borders of Ghana. And as the margins narrow between the leading contenders in the U.S. presidential elections, supporters of President Donald Trump have resorted to prayers as they seek the face of God for victory in the just-ended polls. Although former Vice President Joe Biden has a significant lead in the race to 270 electoral votes, he still needs to win a few more states or Pennsylvania with its 20 electoral votes. Meanwhile, in some states, protests have broken out as the votes are counted in the remaining battleground states yet to declare. But let's go on Zoom now, and I'm joined by my colleague Sandra Esinam-Afenua, who has been monitoring the election there. Sandra, good to see you. But we've been seeing a lot of protests. Why the protests?
Well, first of all, I thought elections and prayers is only in Africa, but it's happening here in the United States as well. But yes, there's currently protests ongoing in many states across the United States. Talk of New York, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Michigan, the protests all over the place. And how did they actually get here? Well, it started on election night when President Donald Trump came out to address the Americans about the outcome of the elections. He actually stated that he had won key states, but votes keep diminishing by the day as the early votes and then the mail-in voting were coming in. So, and then Biden also had a press conference earlier prior to what Trump had. So at the moment, I actually thought I was in Ghana because, I mean, it was press conference after first conference after first conference. So that's currently the situation, and protesters are some belonging to supporters of Biden are asking for continuation of counting to proceed in a lot of the states that are the battlegrounds for these two candidates. And President Trump has actually filed a lawsuit in Georgia, Pennsylvania, asking for voting counting to actually stop in those states. So, I mean, both parties have their supporters on the streets protesting. One side asking for continuation, the other side also asking that they halt the counting of votes. So that's basically what is happening. And I mean, when you go back to the local channels, it depends on where you're watching.
All right, so that's my colleague, Sandra Esinam-Afenua there in the U.S., bringing us up to speed on what's happening in the United States. But that's how we wrap up Election Brief for today. I'm Mara Kumson. Remember, Election Brief is brought to you by Petrosol. Join us same time tomorrow. Have a good afternoon.